Today, a Redditor shares a story of how they messed up by giving the green light for a pregnant woman to drink something they really shouldn't. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, today I messed up by accidentally trauma bonding with my boss's dog, and now he follows me home. So my boss brought his dog to the office, cute golden retriever named Max. Everyone was petting him, giving him treats, whatever. I stayed chill. I don't trust dogs that trust everyone. Then lunchtime hit. I was having a rough day. I sat in the break room alone, eating sad pasta and listening to Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. Max walks in, looks at me, lays his head on my lap like he knows. I start talking to him, not baby talk, like full-on, life's hard bro, huh? type beat. He sighs. For 20 minutes, we just sit there in mutual emotional exhaustion. I think I cried a little. Anyways, now he follows me around the office, growls at HR, tries to get in my car when I leave. Today, he brought me his leash. My boss is annoyed. His wife says Max sleeps near the door now and seems distant. I think I emotionally hijacked their family dog. Do I return him? Or is this joint custody now? Dang, I didn't think I would pluck some Reddit stories of how people messed up and immediately just start having feels about a dog. Not gonna lie though, I've been kind of feeling exactly this too lately. I rescued a dog back in December, and sometimes I'll let him stay with my relatives and they have a pool, and he is a dog who loves water. Like, he will just go on and on and on. So it's like getting to go to Disney World a few days a week and then coming back to boring old Steven's house. Colors of the Currents commented, he deserves a good boy happy gift. Something squeaky or a rope that you can play tug of war on a smaller scale with. Maybe one of those chew animals that have a completely different smaller animal inside it after it's been destroyed. My buddy's dog loses his crap in excitement when I come over. I now keep bacon strips and toys that have other toys inside when they get thrashed in my vehicle. He chews up all the toys except the first one I gave him and always brings it to me when I cruise by to visit. But he has nodded enough for me to see the other toy inside. But I'm the kind of guy that'll walk in, say hi, and go right to petting my buddy, his name's Max, or go to a gathering and hang out with the dogs. I only have so much social interaction in me on any given day, and most days I exceed it before I'm done with my morning coffee. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy stories of how Redditors severely messed up, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, today I messed up, accidentally went to a networking event for black people. I am white. Accidentally went to a networking event for black people. I am white. I feel terrible. I feel I've really messed up here and I am mortified. I've been out of a job for ages, so when I saw a post on LinkedIn about a networking event hosted by one company at a different company's venue that said it was an event open to everyone working in my industry, looking to network with people who work in roles like mine, I jumped at the chance and RSVP'd to the email in the post. I should have looked up the hosting company. It's actually not a company, it's a network for black people who work in my industry. I'm a white woman with blonde hair, so when I arrived at the event, I realized my mistake. And probably so did everyone else. I had two choices when I realized: make a fake excuse and leave the event immediately so that I'm out of the way, but this could have been offensive, like I didn't want to be there. Stay, open mind, open heart. Try to listen and see if I can learn how to be a better ally to level up those who are more junior in this industry than me, and do the networking. I chose option 2. Was that the right choice? Everyone I spoke to was so lovely and welcoming, particularly the hosts, and I did some networking, but I can't shake the guilt and embarrassment. I'm such an idiot. I literally cried all the way back home over an hour and can't stop. Should I message the host to apologize profusely? How do I make this right? Is it better to just leave it? I want to say that I'm so sorry for not doing research into the people hosting the event, and for taking that ticket which meant that someone else didn't get one, and also for potentially making it a less safe feeling space for everyone else there. It would be good to understand if an apology would be well received or if it would even make it worse. Did I do the right thing in staying rather than just leaving? Am I blowing this out of proportion, or did I really mess up badly? I mean, I know it's a network event, so maybe it's like to be expected that even though OP showed up and they were clearly well out of place, they still were treated relatively well and it was all smiles and whatnot. You know, networking. Honestly, I think I would have apologized in the moment. Like, if I saw the hosts and they were treating me so well, I think I would just be honest and say, I didn't realize this is what it was. You know, in that moment, ask them what they think the best thing to do is. Coolest Cat commented, I crashed a wedding reception once. The couple had their names and hometown on a placard outside the hotel venue. Huh, my buddy has the same name. Great guy. Figured it was a random alignment of the stars. Popped in to maybe catch him hundreds of miles away from home. It was dark inside, dance floor lit, so it was dim to say the least. I was just strolling around trying to see if he was there. Music stopped, light on, and dang. I'm the only white gut in a sea, definitely stuck out. I was black tie dress, but ever been somewhere where it goes from 99 to dead quiet with all eyes glued to you? Yeah, that was me. Both sets of parents gently approached me with some easy questions. Who, what, and why are you here? After stating my apologies, I mentioned my friend's name from the same hometown. Oh my god, they know him. It seems there's two different family groups. This wasn't his side. After greeting the bride and groom, gotta be polite because I kinda put a stop moment on the event, the DJ started again, had a drink at the parents' table to again state my regret. A few days later, my buddy calls quite amused at my misstep as he's heard all about his friend who dropped in on a destination wedding. Edit, they had the same surname. Our next story is, today I messed up by trying to clear ice and accidentally ended up on my neighborhood Facebook group. There's a huge block of ice blocking the drain that drains water from the road. Because of this, water has been gathering in a big puddle on the road and creating a growing pothole visible under the water. On the colder days, it freezes and makes the road slippery. People have called the city about this, and nothing gets done. The city workers don't operate in this area. Anyways, after slipping on this ice for what seems like the 100th time during my daily commute, I decided to take matters into my own hands. When I made it home, I grabbed a snow shovel and started breaking the ice to free the drain. The ice was really stubborn and I couldn't see the drain, but I knew it was there. After a few hours, I decided to call it a day. The next day, I used a saw to saw the ice. Still, it didn't budge. Then I used a pickaxe on the ice. It worked better than the shovel, still, I couldn't completely break through the meter of ice. I decided to put more road salt on it in a last attempt. After that, I went back inside. I checked my Facebook and there was a post on the community group that said, "Whoever is the parent of that kid breaking the ice, please get your kid, they are blocking the road." Where I live, nobody wants to splash a kid with road water because it's like the bare minimum of what you can get sued for, so nobody wanted to drive by too fast. They all drove slowly to avoid splashing what they thought was somebody's kid, and asked them to take the picture down. They did take the picture down. I knew I was short, but I didn't know I was that short. Edit, the block of ice was a sneck down. Someone plowed the road and piled the snow onto the drain. It compacted into only a meter. Edit 2, when I came home today, the day after I made this post, someone had removed a neat square of ice around the drain, allowing the road to properly drain. You know, I gotta be honest, this post is so out of the element for me. I've never even seen snow. I've never had to deal with ice on the roads. Heck, I've barely even seen hail. The only thing I know about the accumulation of ice is that I'm happy that my freezer makes some. Scary Jeweler 4984 commented, "One time I got tired of being flooded in again and went and dug out a drain with a shovel. I lived on an island. It was a huge drain that went directly to the bay covered with grates and years of mud buildup. I lived across from a large apartment complex. Multiple people told me it was not my job. I got lucky and one person came and helped. I posted about it on my social media and the city to finish it the next day. The street never flooded again. Sometimes we gotta do what we've gotta do." Rolled Up commented, "My buddy and I were driving down the road in a work truck when we saw a tree down across both lanes a bit further down than we had to go. The only way for people on the other side of the tree to get around was a few miles of sketchy dirt roads. We happened to have a chainsaw in the back, and there weren't any power lines involved, so we just bucked the tree and cleared the road. It was quicker than trying to find reception, and nobody needed to be bothered." Our next story is, today I messed up by renaming someone's dog. Today I freaked up by renaming someone's dog. So I was at a celebration of life and a few family members I had never met were there. These people brought their dog. I didn't know whose dog he was. I was swimming as the celebration of life was at a lake and the dog comes up to me. He didn't have a name on his collar, so I looked at him and decided he looked like a Paolo. So I started calling him Paolo. I did this for the 3-day celebration until one of the owners saw what I was doing and asked why I was calling him Paolo. I said no one told me his name and he looks like a Paolo. They then told me that his name was Benjamin. I said sorry, he had been listening to Paolo, so I just went with it. They asked what I meant, so I walked away and called for him using Paolo. He ran right over and sat down. Then they tried to call him using Benjamin. He didn't move. They tried again. Nothing. Twice more they tried. Nothing. Then they said Paolo and he ran right over. They gave him a middle name of Paolo that day. I'll probably never see them again, but I'll forever know their dog is now Benjamin Paolo because of me. Mini update, I was just informed that he was a rescue and they changed his name to Benjamin when they got him. Maybe his name was Paolo all along. So once again, I rescued a dog in December. They were closer to puppy than full-blown adult. So we decided to rename him away from the placeholder sounds good to adoptable people name that they gave him. The problem is, it is definitely an adjustment trying to get them used to the new name. Beginning Tip 8612 commented, dogs don't respond to long names. In dog sports, show dogs must have a call name. These are all 1 or 2 syllable names. Benjamin is too long. It could be that Paolo was just similar to his previous name, or his name was just Paolo all along. Feed Me All the Cheese commented, had a rescue named Mommy, tried to rename for many months, did not work, went back to Mommy but with a weird inflection when we said it. Within 2 weeks, changed Mommy to Molly using the same inflection. She responded to Molly well. Now we can say Mommy and she doesn't bat an eye at it. Our next story is, today I messed up by not drinking enough water for years. I wouldn't start drinking water until after my energy drink around 1 p.m. Some days I would forget to drink water altogether. I had never really recognized thirst except during intense drinking exercise or hot weather. Nobody in my immediate family drinks water. They drink tea or soda or alcohol, but no straight up water. So I thought I was fine. I was the most hydrated person I knew after all. I'm also bulimic, the whole 9 yards, which freaked me over so much worse. I always had health issues, especially with my heart, but I chalked it up to bulimia. A few months ago, I went in for a strep test. The nurse was getting my vitals. They wanted a urine sample for a pregnancy test to see which antibiotics to prescribe, but I couldn't provide one after 3 bottles of water. My heart rate literally went from 40 to 140 in seconds while I was seated. They did my orthostatic vitals, laying, sitting, standing, and it was clear that I was dehydrated. I had to be rolled out in a wheelchair to go to the ER to get an IV. I felt much better after the IV, but I figured it was the pain meds they gave me for strep. More recently, I returned for my checkup. They took my vitals again, had to do an orthostatic, and gave me another IV. I felt amazing afterwards. I couldn't remember ever feeling that alert and energized. I didn't know you weren't supposed to feel your heartbeat all of the time. I didn't have any after images and I wasn't seeing faint stars in my vision. The strangest part was I didn't feel anything when I was sitting down or standing up. I couldn't remember ever feeling so normal. So I made hydration a priority. I stocked up on hydrolyte, cut back on caffeine, am receiving treatment for bulimia, and set reminders to drink water. No more dry eyes or skin, better BMs, and I have a lot more color in my face. I can't believe I lived like that for so long, especially with the fatigue and brain fog. I really hope it doesn't have any long-term consequences. I wish I had known so much earlier. Edit, it's not like I didn't know I needed to drink water. I thought, based on my environment, that I was a very hydrated person, which was not the case. We get a lot of the water and electrolytes we needed through food, and my food intake and absorption was greatly impaired. On top of that, I was losing fluids at a similar rate as I was replenishing them. My threshold for water required for optimal health was far higher than the average person's due to bulimia. All of the symptoms I experienced could have been explained by bulimia alone, so I didn't recognize the role that dehydration played in my health decline, but both worked together to cause it. This story really kind of makes me feel self-conscious about my drinking upkeep, because there's certainly days that go by where I just don't think or don't realize I'm not drinking enough. And to me, it's a really crappy feeling when it comes around to bedtime and you realize your mouth is super dry feeling, your lips are approaching that near chapped feeling. And to be honest, I kind of have to make sure that I'm drinking regularly, or else my vocal cords will be cooked. Although, truth be told, sometimes I feel like it's already halfway there. Nanny2359 commented, I've had severe low potassium for about 4 years, about 2.5 millimoles per liter thanks to primary hyperaldosteronism, and drinking any amount of water made me feel terrible. Dizzy, foggy, high heart rate, and sometimes palpitations, etc., because it was making my electrolyte imbalance worse. I'm now cured 2 weeks, adrenalectomy, and learning that water is not the enemy. It feels great. It's like increasing my ADHD meds. Our next story is, today I messed up. I left my door unlocked for 15 minutes. Wasn't quite today, but on Monday night, my partner and I saw a dog walk past us with no human. We figured it was a lost dog and decided to search for it. We split up, my partner was on foot, and I took my scooter. We didn't find the dog and met up on the corner. My partner said that he was going to quickly check the park across ours quickly. I went home because I really needed to poop. This was 11:30 p.m. at night. I left the door unlocked because my partner wasn't going to be long, and who the heck is coming to my house at 11:30 p.m. at night with all my security cameras and all the lights on? Then while I was on the toilet, I pooped with the doors open because my 4 cats like being with me, and I heard someone by the door and obviously thought it was my partner. I yelled, "Hey honey, did you find the dog?" Then heard the door with no response and assumed he didn't hear me, yelled again, and got a deep, low, strange noise. Heard footsteps coming up the stairs, and a huge 6'2" man was standing in the doorway of the toilet as I'm taking a crap. I'm in absolute shock, and then the guy says, "Is this the massage parlor?" My brain is confused, and then I tell him, "No." He then asks, "Oh, do you offer other services here?" And again, I say, no. And then he stands there for a minute confused and then walks down the stairs and leaves. I honestly can't believe this really happened. TLDR, don't take any chances and just lock the door. So, although I don't think anything has happened nearby me for quite a while, historically there's been some stuff that's gone on in the general vicinity of where I'm at, especially at 11:30 p.m. even with the lights on and like all signs of people are home and alert. I wouldn't leave that door unlocked. It would just be my luck that I find that one person who is just on their worst day or in their worst state of mind that decides my front door looks like an amazingly attractive one to try. Leechy Leech commented, I live in an apartment complex and the end we're at doesn't have a lot of people living here yet. I'm guilty of leaving my door unlocked a lot. Someone is home most of the time anyways, so I'm like, okay, whatever, no big deal. Well, a week ago, we got home from picking up my daughter and I didn't get around to locking the door yet, and I was doing something in the kitchen and I see the door open. Clearly, whoever it was realized pretty quick that it was the wrong apartment. The thing that really ticked me off is they didn't shut the door, they just left it open. Bad enough that you didn't know where you were going, but you didn't have to leave the door opened. Needless to say, the door has been locked ever since. Our next story is, today I messed up by not wearing sunscreen and getting a rare nerve reaction called hex itch and having the worst 30 hours of my life. First off, before anyone reads my story, I just want to say hell's itch is not a normal sunburn itch. It's some sort of nerve reaction. For those who think I'm exaggerating how debilitating this is, please go over to r/hell's itch and read some user testimonials. Here's one from 2 days ago. I've experienced acute heroin withdrawal with no medication, cold turkey, as well as a kidney stone that was too big to treat ultrasonically. Those were like a stubbed toe compared to this. Anyway, here's the TIFU. Several years ago, I went to the beach for a few hours and, like an idiot, didn't put sunscreen on. I ended up getting a sunburn on my upper body. The next evening, I was chilling on the couch watching TV after taking a shower when I suddenly felt a slight tickle on my chest. Not really thinking much of it, I just brushed my hand across my chest thinking it was a hair or something. About a minute later, the feeling came back suddenly and sharply. This time though, it was more tingly and itchy. I scratched the itch, thinking it's just the sunburn itching, and it went away. Probably about 10 seconds later, it came back fiercely. The tingly itch was so strong, my hand literally automatically jolted up to my chest to scratch it, like my brain forced it to. I was like, huh? This didn't feel like a normal sunburn itch, it felt deep in my skin. Have you ever gotten a random itch on the bottom of your foot or palm of your hand that feels like it's an itch under your skin and you can't seem to scratch it? That's what it felt like. I examined myself with a flashlight thinking a bug or something bit me, but nothing was there. Within the next few minutes, this tiny spot on my chest had started spreading to my entire chest and shoulders. It would itch fiercely and felt like ants with razor blades as feet were under my skin. At this point, I started to panic and went out to put some aloe on it, hoping to soothe it. Big freaking mistake. This amplified the itch twofold and significantly increased the pain. I was on the verge of tears. None of this made any sense. Aloe is supposed to help sunburns and soothe them. By this time, it had been maybe 10 minutes since this started, and little did I know, a journey to the depths of heck was just beginning. I frantically started Googling things like extremely itchy sunburn, how to relieve, and quickly discovered something called hex itch, or self-unaliving itch. I did some reading and found out that this is not a typical sunburn itch. It is something completely different and significantly worse. It occurs about 48 hours after a sunburn, and the itch usually begins after taking a shower. Things that typically help relieve symptoms of a sunburn, such as aloe or cream, do the polar opposite and make the symptoms much worse, while things that normally make a sunburn hurt worse, such as a hot shower, help relieve the itch. So here I was, standing in a boiling hot shower, and it was helping. Once the hot water was out, I got out and started absolutely tweaking. The itch was so freaking bad that my brain literally forced my arms to reach up to scratch it. It was uncontrollable at this point, and I was just pacing around, tweaking out and itching. I could barely stand, it was so bad. This went on all night and all next day until the following morning. I didn't sleep at all. I had to camp out on the couch so I wouldn't keep my fiance up all night too, because I literally could not sit still and was just crying and itching from the pain. It was so bad that I would rather relive breaking both of my legs during an accident I had as a teenager than deal with this heck on earth ever again. Listen, I hear OP. I respect OP's experience. I acknowledge it. But how many of you are with me when I say it can't be possibly worse than reliving breaking both of your legs and having both of your legs out of commission for how long? A month? More? I haven't seen snow, I haven't broken my legs, I don't know how any of these things work. Pseudo Matrix commented, I got this when I brought my pale Irish skin to Fiji. The urge to scratch was unbearable, but I had a bad sunburn, so scratching or hot showering hurt my sunburn. What worked for me was to wave a silk scarf over my skin non-stop for 12 hours. It was enough sensation to ease the itch for about 5 seconds, but not harsh enough to hurt my sunburn. I found out later that it's caused by a histamine reaction. The sunburnt skin releases megadoses of histamines, the same thing responsible for allergies. So maybe an antihistamine would have helped? Our next story is, today I messed up by not reading the instructions to my iced coffee. Obligatory, this was a couple of years ago. I got a bottle of iced coffee at the store, just grabbed whatever was on the shelf and didn't think too much about it. I poured it into my 24-ounce cup with a little ice, a lot of sugar, and no milk because that's how I like my coffee. Later that evening, I thought I was actually dying. My heart was going 100 miles per hour and I was dizzy with a throbbing headache. I was a poor college kid at the time, so there was no way I was paying for the ER, so I tried sleeping it off, and it worked. The next day, I went to make another cup of iced coffee and was looking at the label and noticed that it was a concentrate. You were supposed to add like a tablespoon to 12 ounces of water. I drank like 20 ounces straight. It's a good thing my caffeine tolerance was so high, or I probably would have had a heart attack. I read labels now. Caffeine is such a fickle thing for me. I love caffeine, it seems to really help for me, but sometimes I'm just all too eager to partake in something that has caffeine a little too close to bedtime. And next thing I know, it's 3 a.m. and I'm on Google Maps or something trying to find out if I can find the pyramids of Egypt solely from satellite view, or on some Wikipedia article reading about what all animals had gone to space before humans. I mean, how cruel is it that the Russians sent a dog up with no plans for that dog to even come back? Seronimus commented, I got to wondering about this. So there are 2 tablespoons in an ounce. So you consumed roughly 40 cups of coffee. For those making an espresso comparison, it's like consuming between 45 to 60 shots of espresso. Estimating 95 milligrams of caffeine per serving, that's about 3,800 milligrams. According to the FDA, toxic effects can kick in at around 1,200 milligrams. Now, deaths caused by caffeine overdose are rare and 5,000 milligrams is considered the low end for a fatal dose, but people with underlying conditions have died from much less. I'm glad you're still with us to share this experience. This could have happened to anyone, but thankfully it happened to you because you're still around to warn other folks to keep their eyes open. Our next story is, today I messed up by getting my own insurance. I've been on my parents' insurance since I was 16, now 20. It was going fine. They paid for it and I put my money towards my car. Today, my car is paid off and I have no tickets, no accidents, and tag is always up to date. Well, recently, 2 days ago, my parents' insurance needed to be renewed, and this year/month, I needed to pay $200. I was appalled and told them to take me off their insurance because if 5 people needed to pay $200 each, then the insurance was too expensive. For 5 cars, it wasn't. Well, I've been looking for insurance ever since. The lowest rate I could find was $475. My car is 10 years old, it's paid off, and I live 10 minutes from the city in the middle of nowhere. What the heck? I checked the quotes from every auto insurer there was, from Progressive to Allstate, from the Gecko to the General. All of them was at or above $300 a month. But don't worry, if I give them $1,600 twice a year, then it's technically a discount. Forget that rent in my area is $1,200 plus utilities. Forget that most homes in my area are around $200,000, so a mortgage with a homeowner's insurance would be cheaper. Just don't think, because you have to pay it. And guess what? Because my parents took me off their plan, their rates went down. And if they add me, their rates would go up higher than it was before. Freak my life. So, from my experience, if you're on a family auto insurance plan and you can just keep that going, it's honestly probably the most competitively best offer you'll get. I'm still on a shared plan, and time again, one of the people on the plan pops up and is like, I really should look for my own insurance. I really think I could get a more competitive rate. And every time I'm like, you only say that because you pay in 6-month installments because there's the discount. Divided by 6, that's how much you're really paying a month. Gossgoat commented, yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but car insurance for any 20-year-old is usually in the range you're experiencing. It's a high-risk bracket. You'll age out of it, but there's not much you can do. Best thing I would advise, see if you've got some other option through associations. What I mean is, you can often get programs from other things you're attached to. School, military, even AAA may have some advice. If you went to college or are going, try hitting the student services area and see if they have some ideas. Creepsweep commented, also, the state really affects things. When I moved from Florida to Virginia, my car insurance payment was half the cost for the same exact car and driver. I even bumped up what the insurance covered in Virginia and it was still so much cheaper. Obviously, that probably isn't helpful for OP, just another factor when comparing car insurances for the best rates. Our next story is, today I messed up by telling a pregnant woman she should drink ginger tea. So a couple of weeks ago, I reunited with some family and friends, just a chill weekend night out. One of my family members, let's call her Emma, decided to announce her pregnancy, and the table didn't react well. Some factors to consider. She decided to quit her job now so her body would have time to rest and form a baby. Her husband makes around 27,000 euros per year. Also, days before, they also got into debt to buy a used car. On top of that, they had been getting more and more into church, which had caused some incidents within our group of friends. Because they're prioritizing the church a lot, there's also a cultural expectation that you need to support your family financially if you make more money than them. perfect storm for a really awkward moment. So her brother is losing his crap because he needs to support a child now. Her sister-in-law is questioning her about getting a new job and medical stuff. Others are asking if it was planned or it was an accident. The congratulations were left in the background. So, tensions are high. Emma's on the verge of tears after some stiff hugs and congrats. Other people and I try to salvage the situation by saying some supportive stuff like, "I'm sure everything will work out, let us know if you need help," etc. I, in my all-time brilliantness, try to Google remedies for morning sickness, since she mentioned how much of a hard time she was having with it. One cure comes up from the depths of Google: ginger tea. Ha ha ha, I think she will surely appreciate it. This will help diffuse the tension. I tell her with a smile, "Why don't you drink some ginger tea tomorrow? It'll surely make you feel better." And with that, another awkward silence falls over the table and I seal my fate as the ginger woman for the next couple of weeks. Apparently, as Emma and the other older women informed me, Ginger is an abortive. I was kind of implying that she should yeet the baby and save us all the trouble. Emma didn't react well. She got more upset and emotional. Dr. Google failed me once again. At least it wasn't a complete freak up. It shifted some of the tension of the table into mocking my ignorant faux pas. Excuse me, being a woman doesn't include some inherent knowledge about abortive ingredients. Emma started crying and the reunion ended a bit later. Things are better now in the family, but I'm now known as the woman who offers abortives to pregnant women, because my family loves to poke fun at people. Even now, weeks later, Emma mentions the Ginger incident each time we see each other, and honestly, she says it with a bit of a dig each time. And I don't wish to correct her, because I feel it will cause more conflict and awkwardness. Okay, I've never seen snow, I've never broken my leg, I've never given birth. So many things I have to figure out. Perfect Caregiver 90 commented, "I am so confused. I'm a woman and used a ton of ginger teas and candies during both successful pregnancies. My doctors recommended them and one handed them out for free at their front desk and in their welcome bag." Elizabeth IV commented, "There have been multiple studies about ginger helping with morning sickness. Absolutely no experimentally verified connections of ginger with ending the pregnancy. OP's family are uneducated morons. Sad to hear they're breeding." Our next story is, "Today I messed up by going to the toilet butterscotch style." This happened 30 minutes ago and I'm going back and forth between finding it hilarious and being incredibly embarrassed. I'm working in my office on a Friday, so it's basically empty as most people work from home. I came in because I have a complex piece of work and really need to concentrate, and there's just too many distractions at home. So I'm working away totally in my own little world with nobody around me, and the urge to urinate edges into my consciousness. I get up, still pondering the work I'm doing, and head to the men's bathroom. I'm on full autopilot, the work challenge circling around my brain. I head over to the urinal and go about my business. Suddenly, the toilet door opens. In an instant, my closed world bursts open, and I realize in my autopilot, I was peeing butterscotch style. My pants down, bare butt for the world to see. I am actively peeing, however, and so cannot lean down to pull my pants up. I look over at the door, and a man walks in. We make eye contact. He looks at me, down on my butt, back up to my eyes, nods, and heads to a cubicle. I finish, pull my pants back up, wash my hands, and head back into the empty office. I'm currently deciding whether to quit officially or just walk out and not come back next week. So I think we need some hard-hitting critical analysis on this Reddit post here. OP's out here saying, "Oh, I'm on autopilot, I have a complex job going on, that's why I did this. I just wasn't thinking, so that's why I completely dropped trow at the urinal." No, I think OP is just essentially admitting to the world that they're a regular butterscotch peer. You know, it's always confused me when I've seen people who say that they need to literally get in the buff to sit on the toilet and do a number 2. I don't think I've ever quite understood that one. Our next story is, "Today I messed up, waited too long to do taxes." I have always been the one to remind my parents to make appointments so they don't wait at the last minute to do them. Back in January, ads for tax submitting have been popping up and reminded me and my mom to make an appointment with her accountant to do hers. She mentions she would call them later, for she just wanted to watch her shows. Late February, I remember asking her if she made the appointment. She said no and again says I'll do it later. There's been times in which she waits till it's too late. So I grab her phone and say, do it now so you have an appointment before it's too late. Annoyed, she calls and gets the last-minute addition before the deadline. See what happens when you wait too late? I explained to her otherwise there wouldn't be any appointment. My parents and I share the same accountant, and today is the day for the appointment to do my taxes. To get things ready, I went to check online with QuickBooks for my W-2 forms to prepare to file. Unfortunately, I keep getting an error with the site and have trouble logging on. With today being a Sunday, getting any contact before meeting would be futile, and all of this has to be resolved till Monday with them. What sucks now is rescheduling with my accountant would be after the deadline. Now the W-2s in question is from a job I've been fired from, and getting to work with them to resolve this issue is going to be a headache. As for they've been notorious to respond in time and lack of communication in general. I hate procrastinating, but for some reason it would be easy to just download my W-2s and this error mishappens, so now I'm screwed. I know I can apply for an extension, but I was doing it before having to pay for it. Plus, I don't want to hear it from my mom after having to remind her not to wait at the last minute to schedule an appointment, and now I'm waiting at the last minute to get mine ready. Gotta love tax season, gotta love the government who knows how much you owe them in taxes, requiring you to just figure it out with a very complicated system. Thankfully, my taxes have never been really too complicated. I just use a free filing online website, have so for probably the last 5 years. In fact, I think I started with like H&R Block, but then after a year or two of doing it for free, all of a sudden they wanted to charge like some premium fee just to do my taxes. Honestly, I would imagine most people, unless you're doing some like very complicated stuff, or you're really trying to figure out how to maximize the refund, you could probably just do it yourself with a free website. Qui-Gon Skeptic commented, "The majority of people don't need an accountant to do their taxes. What makes yours so complicated that you need an accountant to do it?" Mystic Marbles replied, "You know how nice it is to drop off a gigantic pile of paperwork at a storefront, come back and sign a page a few weeks later and just have it be done, and correctly and without stress? Worth the fee every single year, plus they always seem to get me way higher returns than if I DIY. And yes, we have 1 disability credit, 1 work from home, prescription deductions, and all of our RRSP contributions and stuff, but it was still nice back when we were just a family working 1 job each with no fancy deductions." Our next story is, today I messed up and accidentally gave my girlfriend a black eye while sleeping. This happened exactly 3 hours and 3 minutes ago. I have not slept and I feel terrible. Here's the story. I've never been known for being a great sleeper. Usually 5 to 6 restless hours is plenty and I dream constantly. As a result, sometimes an event in a dream, a trip or fall, scary scenario, etc., will make me jolt awake and physically flail a bit. This is something that I know to be normal amongst many people, and I've always worried in that one day I might accidentally flail in the wrong direction and catch my girlfriend in the head with a forearm or an accidental kick to the leg. For this reason, I normally try to sleep on my back or face away, but obviously not 100% consistent. Well, it finally happened in the worst way possible. This was the first time ever I woke up with a physical punch. The dream was involving some sort of thief. After the room, full of people, figured out that this was the person in question who everyone was looking for, who had stolen a camera and some papers, I found myself near said thief. So what did I do? I reared back and clocked him. In the dream, he was facing in front of me, facing away, and the punch landed in the ribs/side. Cue the 5 seconds of terror that now feel like an eternity after only one. I wake up to realize that punch connected square in my girlfriend's eye. Still in a stupor, I just start babbling, "Oh my god, baby, 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 oh my god, I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I swear that was an accident. Baby, it's okay. Oh my god, I'm so sorry," etc. That was 4 a.m. After getting a nice pack and taking care for a bit, obviously I went to sit on the couch in a different room, praying that maybe it wasn't too bad. She woke up with a nice shiner with about 30 minutes before her work at a very socially interactive job, including many young kids, and is understandably upset about the notion of having to explain what happened all day. We will also travel to visit her parents and grandparents on Friday. I freaked up. Because I know it'll come up in the comments. No, this has nothing to do with domestic abuse. Other than her, unfortunately having to explain to others that it is indeed not, we are very happy together, and I would never lay a violent hand on anyone on earth, let alone the love of my life. So I think we need a hard-hitting critical analysis here. OP said I would never lay a violent hand on anyone on earth. What did OP try to do in that dream? They saw a thief standing right next to them and they said, "I'm about to send this dude into orbit," and then unintentionally laid a violent hand on their girlfriend's eyeball. So who's the liar here, OP? Filda's Boys commented, "My now wife was sleeping, I was sleeping. She had a dream where she was arguing and fighting with her sister. In her dream, she was furious. While all this, I was sleeping peacefully, oblivious to her agitation. Then I woke up feeling deep pain in my chest. She had bit me full force just above the nipple and went back to sleep without a word, seemingly satisfied to have fought back. It was super painful. I was startled, stood there trying to figure out what had happened. The next morning she apologized and explained to me, I kept this red, blue, violet, green, yellow bruise for 2 weeks. In a sense, yes, it sucks, but a strong relationship can take these kinds of problems. What's more concerning is your chronic sleep problem. Try to fix it." Only Here for Dogs commented, "That's funny as a one-time thing, but consult someone if this happens frequently. Domestic violence doesn't have demographic restrictions." Our next story is, today I messed up by misidentifying my date. So this actually happened yesterday evening, but before the freak up is explained, I need to provide the backstory. Basically, I matched with a girl on a dating app a few weeks ago and we got on really well, and slowly but surely, the conversation got a bit more flirty and then it started turning sexual, and by the time we agreed to meet up for a date, it seemed to be a case that hooking up was a strong possibility if everything went well during the date. The date was planned for yesterday evening, and when I saw her in the distance with her back turned to me waiting at the agreed upon meeting point, in the clothes she told me she was going to wear, we told each other what we were going to be wearing for the one who saw the other first. I thought I would try to make a good first impression. During our conversations over messages, she told me that she liked guys who were assertive and took control. So, bearing that in mind, I went over and slapped her bum to say hi. It was dumb, I know, but I thought she would like it. And then she turned around, and my freak up was discovered because it wasn't my date. It was a completely different woman. Her shock turned to anger, and my confused face was turned into a pained face when she punched me in the face. She was shouting for a guy who came running out, who I presume was her boyfriend or brother, etc., who wanted to fight me, but I was trying and failing to explain that it was the wrong girl, and during this commotion, my date came out from being inside and made light of the situation by confirming she was the intended target of my bum slap. I learned a valuable lesson that day, which I never should have had to have learned in the first place, but it all worked out in the end. My date found the funny side of it, and the girl who had her bum slapped and the guy with her begrudgingly accepted my apology. So hey, no shame to anybody where if this kind of conversation went down and they said, "Oh, I like assertive guys and whatnot," and being surprised on the first date meetup by a bum slap is the kind of thing you're into, no shame. But I just feel like assertive, take control type of guys doesn't have to necessarily equal "How you doing, darling? Give me a peck." Ian11 commented, "Buddy, there are many ways to be assertive and make a strong impression, but slapping the bum of a person you're meeting for the first time is not one of them. In the future, stick to something like leans on the wall, towering over her. Hey, even if it was your date, it could have come off as too strong. That's the kind of stuff you save for the third date. Now, imagine it's the third date and you end up accidentally slapping the bum of the same stranger again." Our next story is, today I messed up by getting my mom addicted to Pokemon cards. This has been a slow-burning disaster of my own making. It all started when I asked my mom for a favor, just for, and age reference, I'm 19-year-old female. My mom is 57-year-old female. I'm casually into Pokemon cards, mostly for nostalgia and because the last packs I ever opened were from Paldean Fates. A while ago, I found this gorgeous box that was only being sold in Japan, the Flareon box with the cool deck holder inside. I couldn't easily order it myself, so I asked my mom, who has a plug in Japan, to help me get it. $103 later, she did. The box arrived, I opened a couple of packs with her. It was a nice moment, but that's only the beginning. Little did I know, I created a monster. At first, she wasn't like obsessed. It actually took her a while to get there. Every now and then she would ask me what packs were cool and what was relevant or what I wanted for Christmas and whatnot. Then she discovered Pokemon card openings on TikTok, specifically Rip Till You Hit streams, and now that's our thing. We rarely open packs ourselves due to the inflation and disappearance of said packs and ETBs, so we just sit on TikTok watching some guy tear through boxes of Terrestrial Festival. She'll yell out, "Okay, one more pack, he's getting close," and then 10 minutes later we'll pull an Evolution SAR, and the spiral continues. Right now, she's been on an insane luck streak. It went Leafeon, Jolteon, and Espeon, 2 Glaceons in a row, and now Flareon is the latest. But her favorite Pokemon? Leafeon, especially since her favorite color is green and it was one of the first bigger pulls she's ever gotten. Anyway, there was probably a good $1,000 or more into the endeavor with bills to pay and an angry father and husband asking us to stop. But I do enjoy teaching her everything there is to know about the Pokemon world, and the fact that I've gotten my mom into a hobby we can both enjoy makes me extremely happy. I truly am grateful for the time we spend together, through crappy packs to the biggest of polls. So yeah, today I messed up by asking my mom to help me buy a Japanese Pokemon box. Now she's a Ripstream watching, Leafeon loving, poll rate calculating Poke fiend. Little edit, Mom and I are gargling over the SAR Umbreon, as most people are, but I'm only worried about the bills part because one parent says we're broke and the other's like, "It's fine." Yes, I do help pay bills and I have a job of my own, but it is causing a bit of fuss in my parents' marriage. He probably should have put that in there. My bad, guys. So I think as long as you're indulging in it through like the TikTok streams and you're not out here like buying these packs, it's not really a bad hobby to have. And even if you do spend, I think it just comes down to responsibility, right? I personally don't even think there's anything wrong with playing the lottery or even doing like scratch cards, but specifically all in moderation. Like I feel like if you're having fun with it, throwing 10, 20 bucks at some scratchers every month, like there could be a lot worse things you could do. Problem is these days, people are like obscenely scalping anything Pokemon. So like good luck if you're actually trying to buy or get into anything Pokemon card right now. Honestly, my general awareness anything Pokemon stopped after like Black and White 2. Even Mike12 commented, "It's a harmless hobby as long as the bills are being paid and she's fiscally responsible. Everyone needs hobbies. If it's causing problems, you should probably talk to her about it. It's not your fault." One gay pigeon commented, "To be fair, it's not really a teen kid's job to comment on their parents' finances. She can let her mom know that she enjoys the hobby even without buying things, and that she'll still spend time watching videos and talking to her about it in case there's an element of, if I stop, I will lose this fun point of connection with my kid." But it sounds like the other adult in the house is willing to have that conversation. Kids deserve to grow up learning to be responsible for their own selves, not trying to manage their parents' problems. Signed, someone who had to mother their mother and siblings from a young age. Our next story is, today I messed up by not exiting the elevator at work. I work in a 5-story office building and work on the 5th floor. The day ends and I go to the elevator. 75% of the employees just take the stairs, but I like to be different. I go in and press 1. The elevator stops at floor 4 to pick up a woman who I'll call Elizabeth instead of her real name for the sake of the story. Whenever we reach the bottom, I tell Elizabeth ladies first and offer her to exit. Elizabeth refuses and says, "You go first, I'll go next." And I told her I insist. We got stuck in this loop of ladies first and you go first. Eventually the elevator was open too long and it went back up. Stopped around the 2 or 3 range, 2.5. It wouldn't open, and it wouldn't work when I pressed buttons, and now both of us are stuck after our shift, cause I try to be nice. Looking back, I probably should have got off first. I do feel OP's pain because in a situation like that, I would probably be the kind of person that would always offer, "Would you like to go first?" Either that, or if I'm close to the door, I'm just gonna be like, "Have a nice day," and quickly duck out of there as fast as possible. I don't think I would have allowed it to get to this back and forth tug of war of, "No, you get off the elevator first." Kind of makes me think of that awkward thing where you're walking down a hallway with a person coming the opposite direction, and you both go to the left to try to walk around each other, and you start doing that little dance in place, trying to figure out which way to go, like some kind of bird mating ritual. Odd Artist 2595 commented, Ladies first, age before beauty, and all such variations are entirely unnecessary and often come across as being annoyingly condescending. In the future, may I suggest simply stepping back and using a hand gesture or nod, nothing florid, mind, to indicate your willingness to allow the other person to precede you. If they don't see or acknowledge it, and you can get out without shouldering them aside, just get off yourself. You know, the same thing you would have done if it was another man, unless you need to excuse yourself to get past them or collide with them as you both race for the door. There's really not much need to say anything at all. If you must speak, a simple "after you" will do. The reason you're deferring really doesn't need to be offered, and probably shouldn't be. Our next story is, today I messed up by being the world's most awkward customer. Today I messed up by being the most awkward customer at my local grocery store. I stopped by after work to get some stuff we needed for dinner. One of the items needed was the Heat and Go macaroni and cheese dishes that we plan on having as a side. The Bob Evans brand specifically. It's important, so I looked around the store a bit but couldn't find it, so I asked an employee for help. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure of the brand name and said with my full chest, "Do you know where the Bob Ross mac and cheese is?" Yup, you heard me right. Bob Ross, famous painter. She chuckled a bit and started showing me where it was, and in my embarrassment, instead of saying thank you, when we found it, I said, "Happy little cheese," then grabbed the product and walked away. But OP, you say, that's not that bad. Just wait, reader, there's more. I grab the rest of my items and head towards the registers when I see an employee I recognize. A cute guy who's previously expressed interest in me, and I decide to try and pay him a compliment without disturbing his working. So I approach him, ready to compliment him, but instead of being slick and saying a proper sentence, I trip over my own feet and fully slam all 200 pounds of my mannish figure onto the floor right next to him, spilling the contents of my basket everywhere. He helps me up, hands me my Bob Ross mac and cheese, and I mutter a quiet "thank you" before speed walking to the farthest legal register to pay for my items and leave. But of course I don't stop there. I really should have stopped there. Instead of leaving, I put my bag in the car and head back in to try and compliment him and apologize for my clumsiness, but he's busy talking to a coworker and I feel too awkward, so I start browsing the nearest aisle end cap and waiting for him to break his convo. Turns out I was standing there with a limp leg browsing some random gift cards and fuzzy socks for like 5 minutes before he walks away not noticing me. I'm currently defeated, reader. Now I'm going to cook dinner, relax, and hope for my brain to rest whatever awkward and tragic demon that just plagued me for the last 45 minutes. Thank you for reading. You know, I almost expected OP to end this post with, "That's the last time I ever go shopping at Dollar General. That's the last time I ever go shopping at Family Tree. Family Dollar, you'll never see me again." Acrobatic Source 3 commented, "This post sounds like a trailer for a movie on the Hallmark Channel. What actor will play you? And will Patrick Dempsey play the target of your affection? I think Kristen Chenoweth should play the lass who gave you Bob Ross cheese." OP responded commenting, "If I'm springing for actors, I suppose I'm built like a Seth Rogen type, but Hallmark would prefer more of a Dave Franco." Our next story is, today I messed up by stealing my neighbor's cat. Obligatory, this happened a couple days ago, but basically my wife and I started renting a new apartment in January. The previous tenant had been kicked out due to not paying rent for 6 months. So when we first got to see the place, there was still a bunch of the guy's furniture and stuff there. He had done a runner. Over the last few months, a cat has almost constantly been on our balcony. Super friendly and always wanting attention. We have 2 young cats of our own though, and they don't really get along with it, constantly fighting through closed windows, and it also had been crapping in our pot plants, so it was getting kind of annoying. We started to suspect that perhaps it belonged to the previous tenant, as it was always outside on the balcony regardless of weather, with no visible spot for it to go to the bathroom or have cover on our neighbor's side. For more context, we're 3rd story with a kind of wraparound balcony that's shared with a neighbor who we rarely ever see at home. Only a small dividing fence that the cat has no issues just walking around. It cannot access any other levels though. We felt pretty bad for this cat as it had a slight limp and really went for food or water when we put it out. Anyway, a few days ago, I spontaneously thought stuff it and took it to the vet, conveniently right next to our building, just so we could know if it was the previous tenant or not. If it was, we would take it to a shelter so it can have a proper home. Otherwise, I was just going to quietly put it back on the balcony and assume the neighbors must be feeding it and just a bit neglectful. My wife has bad anxiety, so I didn't want to make any issues of it, hence why I didn't want to go over and ask just in case it was theirs. I got to the vet, briefly explained the situation, and the lady took the cat into the back room to check its details. About 5 minutes later, she came out and said, "Yep, I've called and confirmed it's your neighbor's cat. They're coming down to collect it now." Well, I pooped myself. I asked her not to say it was me that brought the cat and asked if I could leave the cat carrier there and run home. She was cool with it, but on my way up to my apartment, I ran into my neighbor on the stairs and could not make eye contact. Too big of a coincidence for her to know it wasn't me. There is no way the cat could have got to ground level or be found by anyone else. We haven't seen the cat since. My wife is anxious as freak and convinced the neighbors have been giving her dirty looks when she's seen them on the street. FML. Update: I've since gone over to the neighbors last night and gave an awkward confession and apology. Turns out they were really nice and were actually grateful as they'd been unable to catch it and bring it inside. They were very understanding and we were able to laugh at how awkward and embarrassing I felt about it. See, it worked out in the end. OP just had to face their fears and communicate with their neighbors. What's wrong with telling your neighbors, "I'm sorry I took them down there to the vet. I just like cats. I like the little guy. I just wanted to make sure someone was looking out for him." Like, what are they gonna do? Say, "Screw you for looking out for my cat? For giving it food and water? How dare you, you monster? I could never have imagined having to live next door to someone like you, cat carer." Cloudy Sky commented, "This is the most accidentally chaotic good deed I've ever read. You were trying so hard to be chill and low-key, and the universe was like, LOL, no." Honestly though, your heart was 100% in the right place. Cat's probably better off now, even if the neighbor thinks you're a sneaky villain. Our next story is, today I messed up by not double-checking my email. Background: I have a 10-month-old baby, a husky, and work pretty much every weekend. So my weekdays are stressful since I cannot miss a day of studies or I fall behind. I'm currently studying, and for the last 6 months of the education, we need to do an internship. I had applied to 10 companies or more without success until I suddenly got an answer from a company I applied late to. Intern application period had closed. They asked for my resume and eventually asked when I could meet to discuss further details. That was today. I went, and to my surprise, they had no idea what I was doing there. When I got home about an hour ago, I checked the email. It was another company that had sent me the date. I just embarrassed myself in front of 2 companies today, and seeing as this job industry is not exactly known for being easy to break into, I'm spending today in my bed filled with anxiety. If I were OP, honestly, I would just close my eyes, try to forget about it, and hope that it doesn't somehow affect what's going on. I mean, I don't know, maybe it would affect OP badly showing up completely randomly, not scheduled, but I think it's a little bit more of a dice roll depending on the hiring manager and how capable they are of seeing reason as to what happened. Our next story is, today I messed up by choking on a cinnamon stick while trying to impress a girl. I was at this new cafe near my office, trying to act all mysterious and put together. Headphones in, laptop open, latte in hand, you know the vibe. There's this girl sitting across from me, cute, reading a book. I think, okay, this is my main character moment. I order a fancy chai latte, which I don't even drink, just to seem cultural and deep. They bring it in a glass mug, aesthetic AF, with a cinnamon stick floating on top. I take a sip. It burns a little. Whatever. I keep looking casually in her direction, hoping to lock eyes and maybe flash a half smile. Then I take a big sip. The cinnamon stick goes straight into my mouth and gets lodged sideways in my throat. I start choking, not like little cough choke. I'm full on turning red, trying to cough it out while covering my mouth, looking like I'm dying in slow motion. People are turning around, the barista is confused, the girl is staring. I managed to spit the dang stick out into a tissue. It's soaked in chai and shame. I try to act normal after, like nothing happened, but the girl just got up, smiled politely, painfully, and walked away. Who want me? Am I mysterious and interesting? Wait, mystery lady, where are you going? Our next story is, today I messed up by telling my coworker, love ya. I, 27-year-old female, work at an upscale restaurant and work as a bartender there. I have a close relationship with a lot of my coworkers, which includes males and females. There's one coworker in particular who's a lot like a little brother to me, male 22. We've worked together for 2 to 3 years, and through the heck that is the service industry, we've gotten close, just like everyone else. He has a girlfriend that I also work with, and who I'm very close to as well. Well, today I was calling around trying to pick up a shift. He declined giving me the shift, and then as we got off the phone, he said, "Sorry, love you though." I said, "It's alright, love ya, bye," back to him, and then we hung up. The problem is, my boyfriend walked into the room, and just as he heard me say "love ya" on the phone, he asked who that was. I told him it was a coworker. He said, "Was it a guy?" I said, "Yeah, it's so-and-so. He's like my little brother." He then said that it was weird that I said that to a male coworker, and that he never hears me say that to other workers when I'm on the phone with them. I definitely have said it to other female coworkers as we've been on the phone. I brought up all the people I know he's heard me tell it to. I then called another coworker of mine, female, and as we got off the phone, we didn't say it to each other. My boyfriend piped up and said, "Wow, you didn't say it to her that time." I told him it was just a dumb comment. My coworker apologized for not giving up his shift, and we both said it in a platonic, completely friend way, and that was it. There was nothing behind it. To add to the problem, my boyfriend has some insecurity and trust issues and has made comments in the past about how he thinks that I talk to this particular coworker too much and overuse emojis with one another, and also thinks it's weird that we send so many TikToks to one another. After it was all said and done, my boyfriend was particularly quiet and a bit standoffish with me. I asked if he was mad at me, and he told me that it was just weird. How can I fix this and move forward? How can I reassure him that there is absolutely nothing going on and nothing to worry about? I have zero feelings for this coworker. I don't go out when they invite me to the bar or parties. We never hang out outside of work, and I've cut contact down with this coworker to a bare minimum already. Honestly, I think the issues here are more on the boyfriend than OP. I mean, obviously, people will have different comfort levels with something like "I love you" to a friend. But I think it's completely normal, acceptable, and fine to say "I love you" in a platonic way. "I love you" doesn't mean "I want to sleep with you." Otherwise, we wouldn't say it to our moms and dads, right? Right, listener? I'm going to trust that you mean it when you say that you agree, because I don't want to believe otherwise. Our next story is, today I messed up by flirting with my friend and meeting her long-term boyfriend at the worst possible moment. This happened earlier today and I'm still recovering. I saw my best friend, let's call her S, sitting alone in our campus cafe. So I went over to hang out. We were chatting, laughing, and as usual, I was throwing in some over-the-top flirty jokes. Nothing serious, just our dynamic. S knows I'm not actually hitting on her, and we've always joked like that. She's been dating her boyfriend D for about 3 years. It's long distance, and I'd never met him before, just heard a lot about him. Anyway, we're mid-convo, and I end up saying, completely unserious, joking tone, "Dang, that butt fat, let me get some of that." Yes, I know, probably not the best thing to say in a public location, but it made sense in context and we both laughed until someone behind S starts dying laughing. Like full on, can't breathe, tears in his eyes kind of laughing. I look up and go, who are you?" in a pretty judgmental tone because I thought it was some random guy listening in. S turns around, laughs and goes, "That's my boyfriend D. Meet my friend A." My soul left my body. This man's first impression of me was hearing me say that out loud to his girlfriend. I just said, "Hi," and tried to disappear. Meanwhile, D is still wiping tears from his face and goes, "That was so funny, couldn't have said it better myself." And then we all just lost it again, but internally I was dying. I have no idea how long he'd been standing there. I didn't even notice him. There was a real chance that he heard the whole lead up, the jokes, the insane crap I said before that, everything. Anyway, pretty sure I'm now fat butt girl in this man's memory forever. S definitely set me up. I'm sure she knew he was there, and I will never emotionally recover. You make the rockin' world go round. Sorry, OP saying I'm now fat butt girl in this man's memory forever just very blatantly makes me think of the Queen song. Maybe that was the point. Wormery commented, Honestly doesn't sound like a freak up. You said something outrageous, people laughed, no harm was done. Plus, you got yourself a great nickname. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy story of how a Redditor messed up, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.